punishment was on the decline. Crime continued to be seen as the result of a criminal's environment, and science was proving it was also the result of inborn genetic traits. As the criminal became more and more a victim of outside forces, the death penalty became less and less just. But the shift away from capital punishment was undone when America entered World War I because of panic generated by the Russian Revolution and class conflicts. Many states that had abolished the death penalty reinstated it. Also, no more states abolished capital punishment until the 1950s. In fact, there was a significant growth of this in support for and use of capital punishment from 1920 to 1935. In the mid-1950s, interest in the debate over whether the death penalty should be used resurfaced. Carol Chessman, a death row inmate who wrote several books while in prison, and his first book is autobiography entitled Cell 2455 Death Row, was very popular in the United States and around the world. Chessman's case brought the death penalty question back to the forefront of issues facing society. Simultaneously, support for capital punishment was waning, as many nations around the world abolished the death penalty. The next significant movement towards abolition of the death penalty occurred in the 1960s civil rights movement. This movement helped the abolition debate, largely because abolitionists changed the way they approached the issue. Activists went from trying to use the legislative process to fight the practice in the judicial arena. In the mid-20th century, several Supreme Court cases transformed the legal community's understanding of the Eighth Amendment and laid a foundation that lawyers would eventually use to challenge the constitutionality of the death penalty. In 1958 Supreme Court case Trop v. Dulles, the court decided that the Eighth Amendment allowed for an evolution of standards for civilized conduct. Many abolitionists applied this decision. It was not a capital case to the death penalty, arguing that it no longer fit in with society's standard of decency. The LDF lawyers began a legal campaign that led to a Supreme Court declaration in the 1972 landmark case Furman v. Georgia that the death penalty was unconstitutional by declaring the death penalty as cruel and unusual punishment and in violation of the Eighth Amendment. The progress abolitionists made against the death penalty did not last long. In 1976, Gregg v. Georgia determined that rather than ruling that capital punishment itself was unconstitutional, the court in 1972 had ruled that the haphazard way in which it was administered was constitutionally impermissible. The court opened the way for states to rewrite their capital statutes to eliminate the arbitrariness in capital sentencing. As states amended capital punishment laws, justices held that the amendments provided sufficient safeguards to ensure that the death penalty was employed in a constitutionally acceptable manner. As a result, capital punishment was reinstated in the United States, and the nation's first execution in 10 years took place in January 1977 when Gary Gilmore was executed by firing squad in Utah. Later, Charlie Brooks was the first person executed by lethal injection in Texas on December 7, 1982. The main points of the worldwide debate currently surrounding the death penalty are not new, but seem to accumulate and converge as societies progress. Does the death penalty protect a society by ridding it of evil and actually deter people from committing crimes? Does it extract retribution from criminals appropriately in fair proportion to the crime committed? Is the punishment used fairly in terms of the race and class of its victims? does it have its place in civilized society? Is the death penalty justified in the vast monies saved by not having to support such criminals with incarceration for their lifetimes? Or is its cost to society's humanity even dearer? All of these questions have been asked throughout history and continue to be weighed as society tries to determine whether capital punishment itself will ultimately live or die.